Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 66th Think Tank. This week we're brainstorming RPG ideas for superheroes. In particular, we're going to be looking at sort of like the origins and how the characters' abilities come from those origins. You know, if you're bitten by a radioactive spider, you're going to have spider-like abilities. You're not going to suddenly, be able to do magic. It doesn't make sense. So we're going to be looking at origins and the type of powers they give you. But before we're going to do that, we're going to do some check-ins and find out how everybody's week has gone. I'm going to pass over to Emily for that. Emily.
Hey, so to break tradition, I'll actually start with myself this time. This week's been a pretty busy week. I've been doing some portraits for 66 Lovecraft of the 6 different artists. We've currently rearranged the whole of our upstairs house, so everything smells of odd things and there's just stuff everywhere, and it's winding our cat up. So now with that, I'll pass to Alex. How's your week been?
My week has been a little bit hectic. We're starting to gear up at work, so it's getting a bit busier and trying to get everything sorted through. And my manager thought it's a great time to go on holiday for a week skiing, so that's going to be great fun. So they decided that I am now the guy to be left in charge of the keys. I can't think of the best decision, but hey.
You'll be fine. So, Patrick, how's your week been?
Well, if you look behind the wall behind me, which you can't do, you'll see that there are several quarry bags full of carpet, because that's what I did today. We removed all the carpet from the upstairs room. Apart from that, really, this is the first day I've had off in a couple of days, so I've been working. Yeah, that's me.
Mark, how's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good. Well, actually, I lie. Horribly mixed. Ranging from pretty good to really, really awfully bad. Mostly through work, really. Otherwise, I've been sitting around playing Monster Hunter in the evenings, and so nothing hugely very interesting has happened. Yeah, it's work, really, work.
Monster Hunter's still good. Josh, how about you?
Oh, quite coincidentally, I got Monster Hunter today too.
Free, actually.
Free? Scrub. I kid. No, I just picked up Monster Hunter 4 today, so my productivity may take a hit. I may have also booked the day off work to play it. I'm not ashamed. Yeah, but other than that, just really work and trying to survive the very, very wish-wash weather.
Well, at least it's getting a bit warmer now. And finally, Chris, how's your week been?
Stressful and chaotic, I think would be the best way of describing it. It has involved builders. It involved builders falling through our roof. It involves having a job, but then not having a job, and then not knowing if I have a job because they've had to come cap in hand to me because their servers crashed. So, who knows? It's been just one of those weeks. It just, oh, fuck it, I'm glad it's over.
At least it's the weekend now. So with that, I'll hand over to Pat for the meeting.
Hello, Pat.
Damn it. Today we're talking about alien invaders. We'll be going for everyone in order. Everyone submitted some... We're talking about superheroes. I don't know where alien invaders came from. It's because I read the word alien on the thing. So first of all, we're going to go to Josh with his thing. Now the way we're going to do this, everyone has an origin and a way that those origins affect your character, the kind of powers they will get from that origin. So Josh, I've been looking at your list, and what I'm the most fascinated with is parasite. Can you tell us anything about your parasite?
Well, it sucks and I haven't got rid of it yet. No, basically I'm thinking along the lines of what if those superpowers are more of a byproduct or you have been taken over by. Particularly, say, I got paths such as your body's taken over by a parasitic exoskeleton maybe. So you've now got super strength, super regeneration, and maybe even ability to, well, do whatever the alien suit has. I'm not sure how exactly you want it. It's an alien suit. Also, what if a parasite takes over certain parts of your body, and then you can now change those to allow you to spurt out like chemicals or toxins, maybe? It's more what happens if your body is changed by an outside force rather than, say, some other powers come into being, you know? It's an outside influence, not your own decision.
That's quite interesting. I mean, in a lot of kind of superhero stories, it's usually an accident or some kind of cosmic fortune. Anyway, but yeah, no. So like obviously it will. Chris has a ping. Talking about lack of control.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested in the idea of saying, you know, it's this is the symbiotic, so you don't necessarily control what it does, and you know, you could end up with sort of, you know, it's just like the I can't remember what the old films, you know, where the murderer's hands are put onto the pianist, and so you know the player goes around doing something, you know, and then the hands go off and do, you know, start doing their own thing, you know, maybe something entirely inappropriate or maybe very evil or very good. It could give you lots of role-playing opportunities if the player wanted to have that sort of lack of control.
Yeah, M's just pinged something quite similar, which might just call in. So we'll call in M. You want to talk about having the parasite be the villain of the piece?
Well, it could be something that you could have, especially if the player is somehow unaware. They know there's a life form that's given these powers. But if you say, you know, they start to suffer blackouts, and there's this new villain in town, it could be them. So in the moments of unconsciousness, this guy is actually taking over your body and going wild with it. So your hero could possibly be the villain as well.
I like the idea. I would tie that in with Chris. Obviously that ties in with what Chris was saying, but I think what I'd suggest with the two is you could have all kinds of metaphysical things where, like, the parasite is actually putting images in your brain to make you think that you're you know, you're fighting some supervillain when really you're just in the middle of the street swinging, and that winds up on the evening news kind of thing. Alex, you had a question for Josh about the state of the host?
Yeah, just something, you know, with assuming it's a symbiotic relationship where both sort of are equal and it balances out, but what if the parasite is actually causing active harm to the host? You almost have the trade-off if you've got these superpowers, but to survive you might need to have to try and get rid of them and have to try and balance that out of, do you want to try and do as much as you can in the limit you've got, or do you have to try and get rid of your powers?
It is entirely possible that the parasite is actively harming you. Maybe it's found you. It's using you to do its nefarious deeds, or maybe it's even got its own fight. Say aliens come down, and this parasite's been fighting these aliens, and it's been reduced to this particular form, and it has to do this, but it doesn't necessarily make it the good guy.
Chris has mentioned something interesting there about actually playing as the parasite itself. Actually tied into an idea I just had, so we'll let Chris talk first.
Yeah, I mean, it was just we've all been talking about being a human who's got this parasite, giving him superpowers. Maybe it's the other way round, or maybe you're a parasite and actually this human is, you know, is actually a problem for you, and so you know you control the parasite side of things, and the human side is more the GM's responsibility. I just thought it'd be fun to flip them over.
Yeah, because that's quite interesting. Because as I was saying, I had an idea, which was when you were saying about the parasite taking you over and doing things. What if the parasite is the good guy, even if you're not necessarily playing as a parasite? And that's making you do superhero things. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else to say on that? No. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to the next person.
To have one thing just to interrupt. Is what if the paths you get from the parasite are based more on like the person you possess? So you got like a doctor path, or maybe even policeman power. So you get certain abilities that you can like, infiltrate maybe as these particular people, as maybe even a shapeshifter. I don't know. That made more sense in my head.
Right. So you had a specific power set in mind.
It's more like you take the parasite path, and all the advantages are, say, you have one day you possess a policeman, one day you possess lawyer, maybe. I don't know. As they say, it made more sense in my head.
It's an interesting idea, having characters that change. It's very Gamma World, almost like you just alter. Alex, you had a question about host changing, and then we'll move on to Josh's next idea.
Yeah, to be honest, it was just I put that up, and just after I put that up, Josh said about changing hosts to a set. So yeah, you can start up as the parasite, and then you jump from host to host and take those advantages as you go.
All right. Well, not more to say about that. We'll go on to I think awkward puberty. Josh, tell us about your awkward puberty.
Oh, nobody wants to hear about my awkward puberty. All right, it's a lot simpler than Parasite. It's basically you grow up thinking you're completely and utterly normal. Surprise, you're an alien. So as soon as you hit a certain age, you start getting more and more traits. Maybe you start getting like scales or ability to shoot eye beams out of your ears. I don't know. It's something you're not necessarily aware of. Suddenly this is all being thrust upon you. And we could also take the opposite direction. What if you're the son or daughter of a god? And again, you don't know. Suddenly you start manifesting lightning powers or ability to control plants, maybe.
That's quite interesting. It's worth mentioning because we can't pretend it's not happening. Before it kind of got a bit bloated and fell in on itself, one of the core ideas behind the kind of X-Men idea was that X-Men mutants get their powers when they hit puberty. So it is almost a kind of a trope, but you can very much do that as a kind of coming-of-age story. Well, a literal coming-of-age story. You come of age and you get superpowers. Chris, you was that a ping about Super Teen High, or did you just... You were just being flippant. Emily, you have a ping about... Oh, that's quite interesting. Tell us about your idea about being a son or daughter of an evil god.
Well, you always had the whole thing that they could be, the son of Zeus, or turns out they came from an alien planet like Superman. But what if they came from something darker, like, say, you were actually sending off an evil god, or you were an orphan, and it turns out that your mother or father was like the world's worst supervillain, and you've inherited their powers. Because you can always have an interesting game where you have, your players all be superheroes, but then all their origins come from villains, and maybe possibly have to face those villains.
Yeah. So, Josh, you don't have to ping on your own entry. You can just say it.
I was trying to get your attention. I didn't know when you want to speak. Okay. Going back to the whole party being entirely made from evil villains and aliens. What if your party is trying to outdo your previous reputation? Maybe they all are either dead. Maybe some of them are still alive. The whole idea behind the adventure is your players are trying to convince the world, yes, I'm the son of Dr. Doom Death, but I'm not like that. I'm merely Destructor, but I'm a good guy, really. I'm trying to change my image.
That's quite good. You start off with an expectation to be somebody bad. All right. I think yes. Emily says Dr. Doom Death needs his own comic, which I thoroughly agree with. But I think we should move on now. We've got Jay's entries, but Jay isn't here this week, so we're going to get Chris to do Jay's entries. Now, the one I'm going to choose by Jay, when I was looking at those, was actually the Amphramorph. Amphramorph? Oh, sorry, that was the one.
Voldemort.
I was thinking, Chris, the alien invader one, which kind of ties back in maybe to the parasite. But Chris, tell us about alien invaders.
Yeah, the alien invaders. I mean, it's that actually you've been a victim of alien invaders. You've been abducted. Clearly been some hick somewhere and out of nowhere, abducted by the aliens, had the anal probe and experimented on. But maybe less of the anal probe and more of a trying to turn you into a weapon. Surveying a planet, seeing sort of is there any sort of like worth stealing our DNA to see whether they're good basic weapons. So it's sort of like you've got away from that, and so some of your powers would be things like about those aliens, so particularly how you hurt them. Your biology is all alien. It's got alien plumbing in there. They've enhanced you, so your biology is better. So you very nice general purpose advantage that would be, because you can drop that in lots of things, or you've got hard points, so you just click the weapons to you. So really sort of tending towards a more sort of cyberpunk, cybernetics type thing, but you've been built by aliens rather than some government program.
What would the purpose of those aliens be? It seems that they could build something like a superhero that's designed to kill them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it may be, maybe they've been sort of here abducting people to go and fight in some strange off war, and you got away. That would be the classic sort of Marvel type origin story. Or it could be for shits and giggles. You don't have to. The aliens don't have to make sense from our perspective. They could could purely do it for fun. If anyone who owns a cat will at some point put something on their cat. You've got a whole sentient being to play with. I mean, what are you going to do with it?
I like the idea that aliens are petty and like a laugh. Josh, between your poor capitalisation, I see that you've pinged about the government. What would you want to ask about the government?
Again, there's partially a political angle to the whole superheroes. So this person's come back, and now the government are aware they got this person they could just plug weapons into, particularly like all these experimental high-energy weapons, and they could power them no issue. What happens then? So what happens when the world has got this superpowered person, and what if one government's got it, or another government wants it? What happens to relations between countries when suddenly the one deterrent they ever had is now obsolete because one has just got this super soldier?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that sort of like Bruce Banner type thing, they're being hunted by the government, except every government is trying to hunt you down because you've got technology 200 years advance of humankind or whatever. So, yeah, with that sort of little backstory, actually you can give a lot into a game world and give your character plenty to do, can't you?
Yeah, the governments of the world want to tear you apart makes a pretty good, pretty compelling overarching story. It looks like we don't have any more questions about that.
Alex.
Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Alex.
Oh, yes, sorry. I'm sorry, Alex. Yes, Alex has pinged about brainwashing. Or the failure thereof.
Yeah, it's sort of setting up that your player character has been upgraded and whatever, but the brainwashing part has failed, which is why they're still their agency. They can be controllable, but that then leads to you could then face others of your ilk who have been brainwashed, who are working on the aliens' plan, and sort of the shadow of what you could have been and what you have to fight off.
Yeah, I mean, you could be that this is some sort of plot for the aliens to take over the world, so they're taking humans and adapting them and putting their own programs into them, and you've somehow broken your programming, or it didn't quite work for whatever reason. Yeah, that would be an interesting backstory, and explain why you are equipped with such, devastating firepower.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think we're going to move on to the next of Jay's idea. And the one that stood out for me was escape a character who's left the Fey realm to explore ours. So, Chris, well, you know about it. Is that a Fey or a human who's escaped?
Actually, that's an interesting question. I automatically assumed it would be a fae who's left their realm. But actually, you could say, the human babies being taken by the fae is an old story. No reason why they can't come back at some point with fae-like abilities. Though Jay has got down fae wings, so actually, but it says, yeah, you can manifest a set of little butterfly wings. So actually, you don't necessarily have to have them all the time. But I quite like this one. It's a nice way of introducing magic as a superpower, because you can have one of the things that Jay's got is tricksy spells. So it's one ability. It just allows you to do lots of sort of little cunning, simple magic rather than big things, and I quite like that. But then shape changing, you can make yourself very, very small. You're good at sort of like moving between different realms, and of course you've got your wings. So yeah, it would be a very it'd be quite. You're basically paying a fairy. I think is actually what it comes down to. Sort of more traditional, whether that's like a Tinkerbell type fairy or the more malevolent type ones you find in say Sandman or somewhere like that.
I've always thought it's always quite a fun idea to play as something on a smaller scale. So yeah, like a pixie would be quite amusing. M's pinged monstrous fae. I don't know what a monstrous fae is.
Well, again, it's really how big do you branch out your fae? Like, do you include, is it just fairies, or do you have goblins, hobgoblins, ogres, trolls? Because I quite like the idea of, like, put down an Avenger-style team-up where, instead of the Hulk, you've got an ogre, you've got a pixie instead of Black Widow, because you can be very sneaky, and you've got, like, a whole team-up based on different fantasy fae creatures. Because it is quite, when you say fae, there is quite a big, wide scope.
Yeah, that would be interesting, because I just automatically thought, especially with the wings that Jay was talking about, sort of pixies and things like that. But actually, if you sort of wrote the perhaps slightly differently, you could apply them to almost any sort of creature. Yeah, you could have a big ogre, maybe even a big ogre with tiny little wings to let him fly. Why not? There's no reason why you can't have that if that's the character you want to play.
Well, that's kind of the joy of 66, really. I really like the idea, actually, of you as something that just occurred to me. You could use this to have a superhero game set in a fantasy world. But Josh has pinged about magic and technology and the crossfire thereof.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much become quite a lot of trope these days that magic and technology are always going to be against each other. But what if maybe when this Fae hero is around, any hero that relies on technology, so XPs of Iron Man, Batman, Cyborg, etc., maybe their presence alone makes theirs work a bit differently to each other. So say the Fae character standing next to Cyborg then starts adversely affecting their abilities. Maybe deliberately start getting penalties to the abilities just by being next to this person. Does the technology also affect the Fae?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, it's really about setting up your game world. You could have interesting things. That if you're standing next to a Fae character, you have a disadvantage, or your opponent has an advantage because your equipment's not working so well if you rely on technology, or maybe the other way around as well. So yeah, I like that idea. You can emphasise the sort of magical nature of the Fae world.
Okay. Well, it's time to pass on to the next person. The next person on my list is Alex. And Alex, you are talking about a peak physical. You've actually said peak physical perfection. I was about to say peak physical condition, but I read it wrong. Tell us about your peak physical condition.
So of course that's kind of the one I was setting aside because I didn't have too many ideas on this. He says, and then checks. Yeah.
Okay, well we can talk about the one if you want.
We'll be doing both of them eventually. So to us, it was just kind of thinking of things like you've got sort of Batman who has trained himself in his body, so he's not necessarily got superpowers, but because he's at peak physical condition, he's got he can run faster and jump higher and stuff anyway. So it's just kind of being, a hero that isn't necessarily super through external means, but more super through internal means.
It's quite interesting. I've gone on record as saying that I don't think that Batman doesn't have superpowers, but we can talk about that another time.
Yeah.
Chris, you've pinged because you like the path?
Yeah, it's a good one because from a game design point of view, because it's so general purpose. Because all you're saying, yeah, you are human, but you're just fucking good at being human. It's that sort of complete alpha, character type, and so there's plenty of like Nick Furies of the world, and and Batman and things like that who are supposedly normal humans, but you still need to give those characters superpowers. So yeah, I like that as a sort of, from a game design point of view, it gives players a lot of options.
I suppose you could always work towards it, and we could build up to that sort of in any other game as well. Always build up to that particular path.
It's true that yeah, if you're playing a normal human in a world of superheroes, that you're kind of maybe you might as well just be playing any other game with humans in it. But I think it's a trope of the superhero saying there's always the guy who is who is the Batman, who is the Tony Stark, who is the Question. They're the guy who hangs out with the superheroes but doesn't have any superpowers but can still hold his own, kind of thing. So it fits very well into the setting. Does anyone else have any questions for Alex? No? Okay, well then we can move on to the other one. It kind of almost fits in with the peak physical perfection thing. This is more of the Tony Stark style thing. You want to talk about superheroes who use devices?
Yeah, again, going from Tony Stark to I myself, if you've got your superpowers relying on some kind of device, I mean, I've done funny titles in this, so we've got henching. You can have some kind of high-tech or even magical or alien device that changes you from your normal person into your superhero persona. Or you can do, giving you an edge, so your technology enhances your current skills. So if you've got Tony Stark, he is enhanced by the suit to become Iron Man. Or you've got something like Green Arrow, who is a normal human guy, but has lots of trick ammunition to do different things.
That's
always...
interesting. Sorry, continue.
And also, the last bit is just me saying, where did you get those wonderful toys? If you could have almost not even just a path, an advantage based on that, at this particular moment in time, you have an opportunity to pull the tool you need from your utility belt.
That's quite interesting. I could think of a cool way of doing that, actually, rules-wise, would be to basically have you can put any abilities from the ability stack into your equipment section. So, like, if you say you have
a set of abilities for different repellent sprays to put in your belt.
Yes, yeah, or just do it with different repellent sprays, as Chris is saying. That's so yeah. Essentially, you're just using devices to give you better abilities, which I suppose is what devices are for. So that makes sense. A flying chute. We're going to move on to M now, since we don't have any more questions for Alex, I think. And M, you've written quite a few, I think. Let me just check. Yeah. Yes. No, that's Mark's. Where are we? Hiding. Emily, you've written Man of the Future, and I want to hear about the Man of the Future. So tell me about the Man of the Future. Is it me?
Sadly, not even close. I was thinking more kind of a Booster Gold archetype. You have a time traveler who, pretty mundane in their own time, their fantastic technology is just stuff used every day. Their big holo projectors are our iPhones. Comes into the past, suddenly, your crappy little tech you've got on you is suddenly superpowers. you know, you can make a name for yourself in the present, because suddenly your technology is so advanced it's practically magic. And of course, it could be being a time traveler, could be stuck in the time and then trying to get home.
I think Emily is actually trying to do a ringer here, because she knows full well that my favourite superhero is Booster Gold. And no, Josh, I don't mind losing out to Booster Gold. Chris, you have a ping. You suggest that this man of the future might actually be a loser.
No, I was just insulting you. No, I was. Yes, it occurred to me that the person from the future if they're not going to be a superhero in the future, they're just an ordinary person. They could actually be a really crap person. You know, either maybe just like a bum. You know, the technology's so advanced, even a bum sent back in time is effectively a superhero. Or it could be someone who's just a complete failure in their life in the future, and actually here they have a purpose and a reason to be here. So again, it's one of those character building things. It gives you that sort of angle to play with the character.
That's cool.
Like
Sorry?
One thought I did have on it, similar to Alex's devices, it could just be someone from the present who finds future technology and suddenly has this access to future knowledge and can use that as a weapon to fight crime or fight superheroes.
I've pinged because onto Emily, because there's something I just thought of is clearly nowadays the person in the poorest physical health is in much better physical health than the person in poor physical health 100 years ago. If you go back 1,000 years, a person of like average or low kind of physical health is probably better off than, say, an ancient Egyptian because of what they ate, their diet. So you could have someone who seemingly, to us, is like an Adonis, but to him is like the weakling of his society. Alex has pinged about time poachers.
Just I thought maybe if you've got him coming back in time of fighting crime, maybe he's actually trying to poach what would be famous criminals in his time, and is trying to just either collect them for some kind of weird museum or take them down like some kind of big game hunt of famous criminals.
Like, you're that guy who's out of time, so you're famous, so I'm going to put you in my evil museum.
More that the guy back in time is a superhero taking on villains because he wants to sort of take them out as some kind of experience or leisure thing.
That's cool. Well, we'll move on to Emily's next idea because people seem to be a bit quiet. And you've written the words family duty, and I do want to know about family duty. So tell me about family duty.
Well, you get, especially in comics these days, you get a lot of superhero families, as it were. And again, you could be a hero who's come from a long line of superheroes, similar to Josh's puberty thing. You could find, my idea was someone who's come from a long line of sorcerers. But of course, back in the day, your family used their powers, secretly and mystically. But you're a young kid with practically superpowers. You've got magic. You want to fight crime. But I thought it would be very interesting because you could obviously have arcane knowledge. You can use. I'm losing my voice. So I'm trying to find my notes as well. You could even have something linked to like a family spirit or possibly a demon that's connected to your family who gives you your power, but you do eventually need to get rid of it. And of course that duty as well. So your character might have to follow a certain set of rules to keep their actual powers.
I like that. Alex has actually pinged Legacy Campaign. Now, I think I know what he's getting at, but I'll let him ask.
Yeah, so if you've got that sort of origin, if you've got the family, you've got a family line, you could always, play with one generation and then skip forward to another generation and keep going. If you've got to fight, maybe a family nemesis across time, you can jump further and further on, fulfilling their family duty.
That's quite a good one because you can also have your original character, and every kind of generation you do affects the powers of your next generation. So it's an interesting way that you try and build up as enough powers as you can, so you know that your descendant and your final character is going to be powerful enough to defeat the big bad.
Also, if you're wanting to do sort of spirit advisors, you can always have your previous character be the spirit advisor to your current character.
Unless they die. Or even if. Josh, you're pinging about unwilling actions. And your family make you do something you don't want to.
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. So what if these powers you've been given work on a certain way? So you have to be brave. You can't back down from a fight. You have this stipulation, this stipulation, this stipulation, and this stipulation. You have to act like this. So if you don't act like that, you start losing your powers.
That's so basic. It's a very paladin idea. You have to fit to a code, well, as we discussed, but it might make you do things you don't necessarily want to do. We're going to move on to Mark now. Mark, you've been quite quiet for this video. Normally you have a lot to say. Are you all right?
Yeah, okay. I wasn't coming with any ideas that nobody else was, so I didn't have a huge amount to come up with.
Fair enough. Of your kind of ideas, I like the idea of lost ancient people. Does that mean very old people who are lost, or a race of people who are lost to history? I'm assuming the latter.
This isn't my house. No, no, I was thinking more along the lines of lost ancient people. So Wonder Woman was really the first one I thought of when I thought of this, because she's meant to be this sort of Amazonian kind of thing, or Amazonian woman, I believe. So I was trying to expand upon that. So pick some old mythology. So again, ancient Greece for her, or you can pick up ancient Mesopotamians or anything along those lines, and then just run with all the tropes and themes to do with them. So you can have old martial arts. You can have old bits of mysticism, for example. Something that our society does seem to like doing is picking over old religions or extinct civilizations and going, oh, look, they're all mystical because they're old and far away, therefore they know stuff we don't. And riffing on that as a way of giving you extra knowledge or extra powers and sort of plot hints. Also, the mythical animal companion is a quite easy advantage to have. So that kind of thing. So it's a way of bringing in lots of tropes of an old civilization into the into a path to let you run that as a superhero concept.
It's one of those tropes you never really see subverted, is it? You never read a comic where somebody's like an ancient hero from ancient Egypt and therefore doesn't know how to use the VCR. Alex has pinged, asking about the reincarnation of a hero.
Yes, if you've got so when you gain your powers because it turns out you are a reincarnation of this ancient hero, so you start accessing their mysticism and their ancient ways, and you sort of build on that. You've got the conflict of trying to reconcile, memories of a past life turning up and skills turning up, and your body doing things to do these skills you don't necessarily really know how to do. It weirds you out and stuff.
Okay, I quite like the sound of that, because hey, it's means you can drop in a lot of the mythology directly, saying you are the recollection of Perseus or Monkey, even if you want to sort of do something completely different, and that would quite. I like the idea of essentially I mean, the bit you finished off there with the having powers that you didn't really know about it becomes you can run that slightly less like a reincarnation, more that you're kind of being aggressively taken over by them. As a kind of latent part of your soul sort of starts to take over and go, no, you're going to be this now, so you're going to know how to do this, you're going to try and do these things. To get a big sort of coming of age or painful transformation thing as you become one from the other.
I would very much like to be able to play a reincarnation of Monkey, because the ability to summon the Nimbus Cloud at will would be very, very useful. Chris, you're pinging Eternal Mercenary, which is coincidentally the name of my concept album.
If I'm remembering right, it's actually a title of a fairly shitty series of pulp novels from the 80s and things like that. But it was going from the, you're saying long-lived people and things like that. I was thinking, well, actually, you could just have an individual who's incredibly long-lived, and the Eternal Mercenary was the centurion who actually stabbed Jesus, the one who sticks the spear in. He's supposedly cursed never to die or something, depending on the mythology. And so the books it just follows him through fighting in every war, so it's an excuse for the author just to plonk him down in whatever setting he fancies. But it just struck me as an idea is that you can have individual long-lived characters. You don't need a race of them. So you can have curses or blessings or whatever, which has left one person alive for 2,000 years.
Yes, Alex has mentioned the Wandering Jew, and it did, yeah. I like the idea of an immortal party who can just be in any time period, although doing levelling up might be a bit difficult if you decide one week you want to be in the Somme and the next you want to be at the Battle of Thermopylae.
You suppose you do it going forwards, because I've heard of a vampire campaign being played like that, where you just you go into torpor for a bit and you wake up in the next century, you're just going to go tick, 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 tick as you go through. Yeah.
I was in a vampire campaign once where we travelled backwards and forwards through time, and it got very confusing very quickly.
Time wobbly wibbly wobbly, I think the phrase is.
Yeah, it reaches the end when you instigate your own race's creation. Next idea. Now, Mark, I was looking at your list earlier and I did see some very good ones, but then I saw Not Robocop Honest Gov, and that title just hits me where I live. So tell me about Not Robocop Honest Gov.
It's your standard issue cyborg character, basically. So Robocop, $6 Million Man, all of those various things kind of rolled together and just trying to build that into a path. So I've not presumed anything on how you were created. So you could be a government project, you could be some corporation that's built you entirely as a private venture, or aliens put you together, or your dad did it because he was a mad scientist and he dropped you on your head when you were a baby. And put you back and gave you a new robot body, anything along those lines, or you could be a man from the future. But the whole idea is it's a handy path to collect together all your cybernetic powers. But I wanted to make it slightly more kind of 20th century, because obviously the two examples I gave, they're from like the 80s and the 70s. So there's a lot more you can do now with cybernetics, which, for example, I've got two in here. One's having little drone companions, so little quadcopters. You can then send them off to go look at things for you, and they're under your immediate control under some networking. And the other bit is going with the networking idea and having internet access, mobile phone access all the time. You can therefore get hold of any kind of knowledge you like. You can just pick stuff up and just know stuff and look up whatever you like. It's quite a handy sort of collection of power. Although I see a ping there from Josh about hacks.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen.
What if, so your hero's connected to the internet permanently, right? What if it gets hacked? I mean, somebody somewhere out there is going to DDoS, phish, hack, just make it so suddenly the hero just stops completely, apart from his biological components, or just shuts down maybe. So suddenly you got this hero who's got the major weakness of firewall hasn't been updated.
Well, major weakness must continuously post stuff to Twitter, so his constant location, every waking thought, literally every waking thought, gets posted straight onto Twitter.
Dear God, that is a terrifying concept.
It might be a bit difficult to enforce the law if you've got a constant social stream.
Yes.
Alex mentioned that you might be standard issue.
Yeah, you use the phrase just standard issue cyborg. We could always have it the players are standard issue, police cyborgs. So you actually have this sort of work frame ahead now is fighting crime in a future time, which I may have taken from a cartoon. But you've got them as you are standard issue cyborg in a future police force taking on all these various criminals.
It's very, very Ghost in the Shell, that. Because I say, if you standard issue, then you can build a world where most people have this kind of access and most people have this kind of cybernetic bits, which is basically the very definition of Ghost in the Shell.
Chris has pinged about nanotech, which I suppose you can use to do lots of things. So tell us what you want to do with nanotech, Chris.
Yeah, it was just when Mar was saying that he was obviously the $6 Million Man and RoboCop 70s 80s sort of idea, and that and the Terminator as well. We're still very much that sort of idea of a robot, a cyborg, looks a certain way. And I'm thinking, well, some of the science fiction, 20th century, 21st century science fiction, a lot of nanotech stuff with tiny, incredibly powerful weapons implanted in people. A lot of Neil Stephenson books of this sort of thing in. And I was thinking, well, actually, yeah, we should stretch ourselves in the not the Robocop path and actually try and think of a actually genuinely new way of looking at cybernetics and having lots of nanotech, and what can you do with nanotech implanted in your body as opposed to big lumps of metal strapped to the outside.
I once played in an Aberrant campaign. I was a great hunk of grey goo. It was kind of precisely that. So I was just a nanobot kind of slopped around the place. I didn't have hit points, I had liters. As I got shot, I just lost liters and became more and more stupid as the distributed intelligence went down. But I just want to concentrate that a little bit longer. Another approach for the networking side that I quite liked actually came from the Mass Effect universe was the Geth, which are multiple programs running on multiple platforms. And they're like a distributed sort of emergent intelligence type thing. You could do that. So basically just a bag of mobile phones.
Okay, I think we'll move on to Chris now. Chris, you've got 2 ideas to share. First of yours, I was interested in was oh, sorry.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that skip me because we're running short of time.
Yes, I just noticed. Yes, we've only got 5 minutes, so we'll move on to. Sorry. Yeah. So we will move on from main body to pluses and deltas, which Mark is running this week.
Yes, I am. So I'm going to start with myself. Pluses. It's a really lovely broad range of ideas, and there's quite a lot of fairly unique stuff. I mean, obviously stuff like the Robocop things are kind of derivative, but if we collect together a lot of this, we're going to have quite a broad-ranging, a very well-defined superhero world or superhero game quite easily that will let you play more or less everything. One of the fun challenges coming out of that would be actually making it so it's not White Wolf's Aberrant. So it does its own thing. Deltas. Oh no, not having much to say earlier. There we go. Not being able to think of anything to say earlier. So that's me having done myself. I'm going to go from right to left across my screen and say, Alex, what did you like? What did you dislike?
Pluses. To be honest, of superhero stuff is probably my weakest thing weakest point on thinking of stuff for writing. But I was happy I managed to put a couple up that did get a little bit of discussion out of them. Deltas, I think it was just too many good ideas for everyone to get around and for the time we had.
Okay, well maybe that's something we could resolve by spinning out for another. The next one maybe we can look at fleshing them out a bit more. Pick a few selections. Okay, Alex, well done, Alex. Patrick, bounce back to you.
Okay, my pluses are I really love. I'm quite a fan of superheroes, and I really love Booster Gold, and Booster Gold got a mention, so that's my plus. It's good to hear his name dropped. My deltas are there wasn't enough talk about Booster Gold. No, that's not true. I think my deltas are. I don't think I actually have a delta. I think I'm more than happy with what's happened this week.
Cool. Okay, we've achieved. We've achieved brainstorming nirvana. There is nothing else better to do. We have solved the 66 brainstorming. So, Josh, have you got any light to shed? Did we do anything wrong?
Well, start, pluses, always good to discuss superheroes and the like. Origin stories are always some of my favourite things, unless they're absolutely terrible. And believe me, through my years, I've seen some pretty awful origin stories, but it's another day. Deltas, again, agree with Alex, not enough time to discuss all the possible ideas we can come up with. I think it's worth maybe revisiting this one in a few months' time. Maybe if we do end up working on 66 Supers properly, then it's worth going back to it as a proper thing.
Okay, cool. I like the sound of that. So so far our delta is we've got too much to do and we can do it later. Emily, your microphone is off. We can't hear what you
My pluses I really, really enjoy talking about superheroes. It's one of my favourite topics, and I don't get to play enough superhero games. But yeah, really enjoy people's ideas. There's lots of creativity. My only delta was, yeah, I wish we had more time to discuss them even further.
Cool. Okay. And finally, we'll get what Chris feels about the session.
Yes. What I liked particularly is we avoided lots of the stereotypes, because I think too many is like superhero games. Obviously, if they don't have the trademarks, then you get the character which is clearly Batman, but not actually called Batman, and you get the your Fantastic Four, whatever else. And so I think the pass we came up with, though we could fit them to certain famous characters, they were actually quite distinctive in their own right and had lots of possible uses and backstories tied to them. So I really like that variety and avoiding the stereotypes. Delta, yeah, it's a tough one this week actually. I really think we did well. Yeah, obviously too many ideas. We could do hours and hours of this.
Cool. Okay, I think that concludes that. So I think we're all right. So I'll hand over to the people signing off. So that means I'm talking, leaving now Alex to talk.
Yep, so it's been passed on to me to sign us off this week. So just a thing to say if you like this, so subscribe so you can get updates on our new ones. So there'll be another Think Tank next week at the same time at 7, which may be superheroes again, and will at least be another chance for us to achieve Think Tank Nirvana.